Good afternoon, Cubes of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and welcome to another Savage Saturday. Now, this week we have part 3 of our cult origin tale, and then next week we'll move on to something fresh, something new, and we'll have at it. But for this week, let's wrap up how young Cull came to be a young boy warrior. And in this tale, we pick up a little bit after the last iteration, where Cull was brought into the village that he was at first exiled from when the shaman brought him out to save his life. Now they just think he was this wild youth savage living with the tigers, so they don't know that he was actually born on the moon that Badar was looking out for, because he wanted to kill all the children born on that moon, because it was prophesied one of them would rule in his place one day. So here he is under the care of the shaman Ramos in this village, and right now he's with a young girl and a young boy as they're hearing tales from Escalante and learning lessons around the campfire. Now, this is written by Roy Thomas with art by E.R. Cruz, and it's called Death and Life in Tiger Valley, and this is part 3. And this particular story can be found in issue 192 of the Savage Sword of Conan, one of the more famous covers here by Bob Larkin. And a pricey one to find, just because of the cover alone. You're usually going to pay anywhere between $60 to $90 just because of this cover, which is insane, but it is what it is. Luckily, I did not have to pay that for mine. This copy was actually a gift, so happy to have it. But let's move on to the third and final installment of the cult origin story. All right. Now it says, in the pre-cataclysmic age, many centuries before the time of Conan the Cimmerian, a warrior equally fearsome was born upon a small continent which lay between the Pictish Islands and the Thurian mainland, Robert E. Howard's Cull of Atlantis. Then we have a little box of text that says, 6 summers have come and 5 gone since the wild tiger boy captured became Cull of the Sea Mountain tribe. And then we have Escalante speaking, and he says, and so, escaping the hunters, the king tiger climbed the vine thrown down by the woman of the moon, and abode in the sky for many years. Ever since, all tigers worship the moon and roar at it when it is full and ripe, like tonight. And a young woman says, that was a good story, Escalante. And young Cull says, yes, Rita, but I don't believe it, and I should know. After all, I was reared by the striped ones, and I never knew them to worship anything. And the third boy says, besides, how could tigers alive now know what took place hundreds of years ago? Escalante says, the skepticism of the young in these troubled times. And Cull says, enough about tigers. Tell us about Volusia. And Escalante says, again? But I've told you of my sojourn there many times. And Sarita says, tell us again. I mean to travel over the sea one day. And the other boy says, you'll stay there and raise children like every other girl of Atlantis, Sarita. And Escalante says, never be too certain of anything, Amra. As to Volusia, well, in my distant youth, an Atlantean fishing boat sank in her waters, and I was taken to Volusia's City of Wonders as a slave. The walls about the Crystal City are 10 times the height of a tall man. The gleam of gold and silver there would dazzle your young eyes. And the women who throng its streets or lean from their windows are robed in strange, smooth robes that rustle and sheen. And all of a sudden, off panel, we hear, hold your tongue, Escalante. And we see the Chief Badar arriving with a guard. And you hear the guard say, you heard Chief Badar, dog. And Badar says, we do not need you feeding our children's curiosity about the mainland. And the children and Escalante all bow, says, I did not mean to offend you, O Badar. And the guard says, and why aren't you brats home in bed? Especially you, Cull. And Cull answers, Ramos is ill, and I wish to let him sleep. And we hear Escalante say, let the boy be, Kuvar. So we already got this guard, Kuvar, being kind of a bully to Escalante and the kids, because he is one of the chief's favorites. We have the chief coming down and just denouncing everything that Escalante's saying, because he only wants the place that he's chief of to be talked about. He is a complete egomaniac and just is only about him and his village. So So there we go. The Sea Mountain Tribe. As we turn the page, Kuvar grasps Escalante and goes, "You would dispute a warrior, teach sayer? Perhaps I must teach you your place." And Kull jumps up, "Leave Escalante alone." And as he leaps on him, he growls and he scratches Kuvar's face. And Kuvar cries out, "Badar, he claws me like the tiger club he used to be." And Badar says, "Perhaps you are right, Kuvar. Perhaps we should have slain him when he was first captured, rather than let the old shaman try to turn him into a true Atlantean. I've long wondered how he came to be reared by the striped ones." Then we get a little bit of text that says, "Of a sudden, deep in his mind, Kull hears the oft-repeated warning of his foster father, Ramos." And you see Ramos speaking in Kull's mind, "Above all else, Kull, beware the wrath of Chief Badar." And Kull comes to his senses and says, I'm sorry, old Badar." He goes, "I did not mean to revert to tiger ways, but Kuvar goaded me." And Kuvar says, he is a hot blood still. His point about your origins, surely they can never be fully known, Badar." And all of a sudden, there's a hand on Kull. He turns around and says, "Korna?" And another guard is right, says, "Yeah, the boy does have the look of that outlaw tribe who once lived in Tiger Valley and perished in the Great Flood." And Badar says, "That was years before he was found there. All the same, I suppose. We have other fish to spit." And Kuvar says, "But my chieftain." And Badar says, "I said, come." "Yes, Badar," says Kuvar. "Still in all, Korna, I want the boy to start studying with other priests besides only Ramos. They will teach him how to follow our tribal ways." And Korna says, "You heard our esteemed chieftain, Kull, and perhaps for once he's right. Too often you mock the legends of your adopted people." And Korna is pointing to Kull. He says, "You must learn to revere the holy things of the past and of the present." And Escalante says, "Listen, boy, to him who years ago saved you from both a bull's horns and Kuvar's knife. I thank you, Korna, for coming to my aid as well." Korna says, "Even so, man, you know I don't approve of the young one spending too much time with one who was a slave so long abroad that he forgot his good Atlantean name." And he's kind of putting Escalante down here. And Escalante says, "What you say is true. That is why I must use the name the Volusians gave me, Escalante. But for all that, I did escape at last and return to this isle." And Korna says, "Hey, let that be a lesson to you, Kull." "Kull?" He's looking around. Escalante says, "He is gone." And Korna says, "He sneaked off a lot like that lately." So, got a bunch going on here. The story's being told, interrupted. Kull's going to have to learn with other priests now besides Ramos. But his secret in 6 winters, 5 summers has still not yet been discovered. All right, and as we turn the page, it says, "Meanwhile, in the hut cave, which is the second abode of the shaman Ramos," you see Kull in there. He says, "Where are you, old man?" Because "You didn't come to me today, and you don't come tonight. And I know why, I'll bet. It's because I've been pestering you to take me to see Tiger Valley, and you don't want to do it. Well then, I'll just go there by myself." So young Kull sets out to Tiger Valley. He says, "More than a decade ago, Ramos sought to save 2 orphan infants, twins, from the Valley of the Striped Ones. One was Kull, the other, this girl, Irena. I'm sorry, we were with Irena, not Kull. They draw them alike because they're brother-sister. So Irena sets out to look for Ramos. It says, Badar would have them both murdered had he known of them then, because of prophecy which he felt menaced his despotic rule. So Ramos reared the girl in secret, but the boy child was carried off by the tigers. Since Kull returned to the tribe, the shaman has cared for both, though the tribe does not know of Irena's existence, and she and Kull know nothing of each other. Ramos has taught Irena fighting skills and a few simple incantations, at least one of which she means to use tonight in the dreaded place called Tiger Valley. She does not have long to wait, and she sees the tiger approaching, and she whispers, "That must be Jakari, god of all tigers. When I speak the spell I've heard of old Ramos speak, he'll obey me, and I'll ride him proudly into the village. And she starts speaking, Jakari, Ixequan, Chia, Ki, Kolmakak. And it says, but an incantation missing even a word or two is no better than no incantation at all. So as Irene is staring at the tiger, it's coming forth to her. He goes, as Irena swiftly perceives, she's like, no, stay back. I love tigers. And the tiger's on her, quickly, climb this tree. She hears a voice and she goes up the tree. And pray you reach the small branches before he reaches you. She goes, you're still alive, you are, old Chiptooth. And this is Cull looking down. He goes, I would have thought some crocodile would have devoured you long before now. That's right, eater of toads. And Cull is fighting this old tiger now to save Irena. And this is their first meeting. They have no idea who each other is at all. So, we have the brother and sister who were saved by the shaman Ramos finally meeting, not knowing that they have any kind of relation at all. She's trying to incant a tiger spell and be friends with the tiger, but this old chip-toothed tiger just wants to make a meal out of her. And Cull is there to save the day. So Cull starts running and says, it's me you want, not her, so come and get me. And Cull's running up a cliff, and he jumps, and he's swinging across some vines, very Tarzan-like. He says, if you can, but the vine snaps. Cull says, whoa. He nearly did as he grabs a branch on his way down. The tiger just missing and falling on some jagged rocks and impaling itself. He goes, and you see Irena saying, you saved me, you wonderful boy. I've always loved hearing about tigers, but that one would have made a meal of me. My name is... And Cull says, what do I care what your name is, you silly girl? And she's like, what? He goes, why are you so angry? He goes, because I knew old Chiptooth well when I was a child. And she's like, sure you did. You are clearly still a child. He goes, I did know him. And vile as he was, I should have let him have you. If I'd stopped long enough to think, I'd never have led one of the Striketones over Death Cliff. Not even after so many years away from them. He goes, and she says, if you really like tigers, then we have that in common. And he says, what do you know about them? He goes, I saw you try to master one with stupid words. And she says, and what other way is there but by magic? He goes, magic? Who could possibly have taught you magic? And Irena said, I cannot tell you. It's a secret. And Cull says, it doesn't matter anyway. I was just mad because I was reminded that I'm no longer one of the strike people. It never truly was. I am only Cull, foster son of Ramos. And Irena goes, Ramos? Really? And Cull says, and to what tribe do you belong? And she goes, one that you do not know. Because she is just sworn to all sorts of secrecy. And he says, you look so sad. And he says, so do you. And she says, well then, perhaps we can find a way to cheer each other up. So you have the meeting, at first at odds, but quickly kind of becoming friends. Realizing that they do have some things in common. Cull hasn't thought too hard that she recognized the name Ramos, which is to her benefit, because she is trying to keep that a secret. So as we turn the page. But Irena too remembers words oft spoken to her by old Ramos. So she falls in the Cull, he gives her a hug, and he says, you must have nothing to do with the Sea Mountain tribe, and least of all with a boy named Cull. And she turns away. He's like, what's wrong? She's like, nothing. But I must go. And she runs away from Cull. And you see Cull just scratching his head, bewildered by this wild girl. And he says, already, the image of the mysterious girl is pushed aside in Cull's mind by thoughts of the gap which now exists between himself and the striped ones. Well, Irena is determined more than ever that one day she will get the tiger spell right. And then the world had best beware. It says, it is still night when Cull returns to the main cave hut of his sick mentor. And Cull says, you are better than Ramos. He goes, yes, but you seem bothered. What is wrong? And Cull says, I met a girl tonight on the fringes of Tiger Valley. And Ramos says, you were never to go there, but continue. He says, she was about my age and wouldn't tell me her name, but she tried to command a tiger with a spell to the god Jakiri, and I had to save her. And Ramos speaks from his bed. He says, I can tell you nothing of her, boy, but you must swear to me you will never mention her to anyone else. And Cull says, why not? And Ramos goes, swear. And Cull puts his hand up out of respect for the old man. He's like, I swear, but why? And Ramos says, I can say no more till you are older. Now, I'm tired. You must leave me. We will talk in the morning. And Cull says, yes, Ramos. And the scripted text says, as Cull leaves, the shaman thinks again of the prophecy which hinted that either Cull or his secret sister is destined one day to rule the Thurian continent across the seas. Which of the two it may be, even Ramos has no idea. But from this night on, he will strive all the harder to keep each from learning about the other. As for Cull, he gazes for hours out across the night-shrouded ocean, toward a distant, unglimpsed mainland. But his thoughts are on a girl, not on the civilized kingdoms there, a girl he'll never see again, till he has become king of Valusia. And she, both the ruler of savage Atlantis and of far more savage tigers. And then we get a tease of more Cull stories to come. Next, Cull the Young Warrior. And thus ends our trilogy of Cull origin tales. And Cull has met his sister, doesn't know it's his sister. Ramos is going to rear them both separately, and they both have a destiny that awaits them. And, certain to meet in the future at some point when they're both adult and both rulers of different lands. So, a fun little origin story over 3 issues, backup feature. Always fun reading some Cull tales. Cull is just one of those great creations by Robert E. Howard. One that certainly doesn't get enough recognition. One that certainly isn't celebrated enough. One that gets too often thrown into the law of a Conan copycat, although Cull came first. And both Cull and Conan are vastly different characters. And if you've read them in the Robert E. Howard stories, you know that. And Marvel always did a good job of writing them separately too. Roy Thomas understood these were separate characters. The other creators at Marvel that handled both characters understood they were different people, and they wrote them as such. But just a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this 3-parter. If you did, excellent. If not, hey, we got a new story next week. But until next time, thank you so much for your time. And until then, keep it casual.